This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
Hello, this is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. Do not text the show, please, because we're not live, but you can follow us at Frank on the Radio on Twitter and Instagram, or you can email us via the Absolute Radio website. Good morning, morning Jim, morning Peter.
Morning.
Morning, Richie.
It's as you may know, regular readers, that we can't actually see each other. We're in our respective homes. But if you're going to broadcast from your home, do it on audio. Is my that's my hint. Don't be one of those people in the sort of bad quality Zoom things on the news. Sick of it now.
Oh, I hate those.
Can't we
It's a
animate
grey
them?
filter.
Animate.
Couldn't they have puppets in the studio and move it like with their voices on?
Yeah, surely they could just... You know that thing that Apple phones do where you put up a still picture and then when you scroll to it, it just slightly moves? Surely just a still picture and they could make the movement happen.
Yeah, all those animoji things, like when you get a fox that talks in your voice. I'd be very happy to hear the astronomer royal as, say, an otter talking about the planet.
Robert
That'd be
Peston
great.
as a unicorn. Lovely.
Oh, Robert Peston. Used to like him. He'd be played by Jeff Goldblum
Yes.
in the in the movie.
Very good.
They've both got that very strange intonation. So,
Frank, can I just add to that?
Oh,
is Laura Kunisberg, Jodie Foster, maybe?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Okay, thank you.
Good.
Your witness.
Yeah, I'm all right there. And Adam Bolton, maybe Jabba the Hutt. So I tell you what I didn't do on Thursday night. I didn't applaud for the NHS. It seems I don't think anyone did in my road.
I think
it's one of the. Yeah, but it was never really official that it was finished. It was just a slight rumour that it was finished. And it was like people were really keen for it to end. And as soon as they thought, oh, God, we're off.
Yeah.
Because I don't think people have stopped caring anymore. I just think, it's every week.
Yes.
There's a bit of that going on.
It's tough, though, because presumably you two, as professional stand-up comics, know that the sound of no hands clapping is tough when you've heard it regularly.
Yeah.
Well,
So I'm just saying I feel for the NHS because I don't want them to think we suddenly think, you know what, I'm a bit over you.
Yeah,
I think they're probably over it, aren't they? I think they know now. They know that we love them and they probably just don't need it anymore. The way that when you've been in a long-term relationship, you know, when you never ever say nice things to each other anymore. That stage, when that stage comes in, that's
what we're at.
Yeah, I think it's there. But
What about this week, Frank? I told you Kath had said lovely things behind your back, which was nice.
Yeah, what about that?
That is good.
My partner's been saying stuff about me behind my back, which is nice. I suppose it. Whereas to my face. I miss it. I must admit, it was 10 weeks and I was moved by it every week. So it was brilliant. I always look back on it with affection. But it's one of the most efficient removals of a regular activity I have ever known. I didn't even hear anyone in the street go, "Wait." Nothing. I mean, from applause to silence. God, that's the title of my third memoir. But really, I mean, so efficient.
The collective unconscious decision, in a sense, that we all obeyed that.
Yeah, it was amazing.
I thought the person that had kick-started it had said that they were over it and that they thought it should be done annually now.
They did say that. But I mean, that just because they started it didn't mean that they got to decide. But anyway, it was sodden and complete in our road. So look, how are we going to get rid of International Women's Day?
God.
It was a joke, for goodness sake. Well, anyway, 8:12. No, don't text.
No.
We're not live. Don't text it. We would not have that as a text in. That would be the end.
They're so going to text in.
They won't. If they do, we won't read them out, so there.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
I might bring about an award, which we've never really given awards on the show, but I would, this week, I would like to officially begin and award the Gary Barlow Phoenix from the Ashes award, named after Gary Barlow, of course, a man whose career was utterly desolate wasteland, and then who came back to superstardom. I mean, incredible. I don't think anyone thought there was a way back. Can I say, Gary, you're an inspiration to us all. And I'd like to award the Gary Barlow Phoenix from the Ashes award to ibuprofen, who at the beginning of the coronavirus thing was absolutely slammed. It was, if you walk past a shop that's...
Yes.
Can I say, can I just have a small footnote here? If this was written, I would put a number and then we'd go down to the bottom of the page. I called it ibuprofen for many years. And I'm
yes,
sure...
you also say Star Wars, Frank.
No, but
so
I think
with
I've heard
respect.
medical people call it ibuprofen. Is it...
Really?
To you, is it a completely new variation?
Okay, let's say how I'd say ibuprofen. Alan Cochrane.
I would say ibuprofen. But
No, hold on, isn't it ibuprofen?
No, that's Iron
isn't it?
Brew, Frank.
No, isn't there an R? Isn't it ibuprofen?
No, I thought it was ibu.
Well, anyway.
I'm with Descartes on this.
At the beginning...
They're
At the
doing well out of
beginning...
free advertising anyway.
We'll get freebies sent, Frank.
At the beginning of the new normal, merch. Ibuprofen merch.
Imagine, Frank, imagine if you posed and I saw paparazzi pictures of you posing in a very obvious way with ibuprofen outside
This
a
comedy
college.
won't give you a headache.
Yeah. But a sort of white sailor hat that when you look closer is actually a large version of the actual tablet itself. I'd love that. Anyway, it's now apparently being used on people who've got... I still call it coronavirus. I know everyone else calls it COVID-19 now, but, I'm a traditionalist in these matters. What a fantastic turnaround, though. I thought they'd be laying people off. The company was finished. They got such bad press. They've bounced back. So well done, you.
Fair play.
If you're listening. And don't send me any free stuff. I think it should go to people who need it. What about that?
Yeah.
For a
People
bit of
with headaches.
selflessness. Absolutely brilliant. I had a fabulous surprise this week.
Oh, go on.
I mean, I did not see it coming. And as gifts go. Okay. May the 31st.
Yeah.
That was it.
You didn't see it coming?
I was absolutely convinced there was 30 days in May. Utterly convinced. And when I woke up, and because I was working, I had to write something by a certain date. And then I woke up and blow me. Don't in the current climate, but
Don't ever.
I had an extra day. I mean, who knew? May the 31st. And it's because, of course, of the worst ever mnemonic of all time. A mnemonic, our regular readers will know, is something that helps you to remember things. And I've always felt, and I'll come back to this, that one of the worst ever is the old 30 days hath September cliche.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We were talking about the popular mnemonic, which is a great word, I've always thought. 30 days hath September, which is to help people obviously remember how many days there are in the months.
You say popular, but you didn't sound like you were a fan of it.
I don't like it. I think it starts badly and gets worse, would be my description.
More Frank Skinner contrarianism I smell coming.
No, 30 days had September. Okay, is
fine. Good start. Solid
beginning.
start.
That's the setup.
I can stick with that. April, June, and November. Am I right?
Yeah, although I always say May,
Now-
Frank, so, you know.
Yeah, well, how do you remember April, June? Exactly that. It should have some sort of rhyme that sticks with you, that helps you to get there. And also, of course, it needn't be November. It could be December, which also rhymes with September. I'm already picking holes in it. And then it goes into what I would call the middle eight of 30 days after September, where it says, except February, which has 28 days clear. And I think, what do you mean, clear? Is there some dispute about the other days? They're not quite visible, but as far as we can tell, in this light,
I love
that we're
this.
right about those days.
Frank, this is like angry poetry podcast
Yeah.
as opposed to
just-
celebratory.
The mnemonics are supposed to help people to remember. And I think, the fact that I didn't know there was 31 days in May shows that this fails.
Can I just say something? There is a line which says all the rest have 31, Frank, which
Yes.
I don't know whether you've intentionally avoided it, but I would agree with you that it haunts me, the end of that, where they just say, except the leap year comes once, giving February another day, and then it's just all like you haven't finished your homework and you've hurried it. It's so
I think
inelegant.
It's February that has 28 days clear, or 29 each leap year is how it ends. I'm not happy with it. Anyway, it didn't work for me. Oh God, sorry, Siri started explaining the days in the year to me. Mind your own business. No need for that.
Are you a fan,
didn't.
Alan, of 30 Days Hath September?
I'm not even a fan of the calendar right now. I don't know why we're bothering knowing what day of the year it is at all. I think we
No,
could
you're
just...
right. It was a
could just
waste of
restart.
money, wasn't it? The 2020 calendar will go down as one of the worst buys.
I mean,
in history.
Given that time is itself only a relative concept, I feel like we should be allowed to just play with it. So we could just reopen after lockdown and go, okay, it's March the 29th. Go. See how it is, see what we've missed.
A bit like they were talking about doing with the football season.
Yeah.
Just moving it back a bit or forward. Yeah, I think
not?
that. Well, I'm fine with it. Maybe we're too rigid on the whole thing. Did I tell you,
extra
speaking
day,
of
though, is great.
by the way, I would love to know from any of our readers what is the worst ever mnemonic in their opinion. I'm mooting 30 days hath September, but if anyone can think of one that's worse than that, I mean, I'm not a massive fan of. Well, my dad. I must have told you this before. He had not one mnemonic, but two mnemonics. Right. So absolute belt and braces approach to something which nobody needs to remember. And I'll tell you what it was after this.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We've actually had the audacity to put up a tweet that says, "What is the worst ever mnemonic?" I love it. And we've already had a reply, I think.
We have. Well, we're doing this. We should say we're doing this while we record the show because we want to see what people have to say. And Harry Streaker, Frank, has
Harry
been in
Streaker,
touch.
yeah.
I don't know whether that's nominative determinism. I hope not. He says can't remember.
Very good.
I'm glad we've got that out of the way early. To me, what's the worst mnemonic someone saying can't remember is like getting the hard bit out of the end of a moisturiser tube that you haven't used for a long time. Once you get that pellet at the end, then the rest of the moisturiser is fine, just like the moisturiser. It's just like it was in the original days. But you've got to get that hard pellet out.
Yeah.
My dad's mnemonic, he had two mnemonic for anything for, when, like Columbus discovering America, if he did that, you may know is in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. That is quite a big event in history. Still only gets one mnemonic that I know of. My dad had two mnemonics to help people remember the spelling of the word contents.
Oh, go on.
Now, there are many things. There are many things going on here. First of all, people rarely write contents. And also, it's a really easy, spelt like you say it word. There's no tricky bits.
There's not a silent letter in there.
No, none of that. Who needs any to have two? Not only did he have two, but one covered it in its normal spelling, and the other one covered it in reverse. So he had cows ought not to eat nasty turnip skins, as to help you to remember how to spell contents, and then coming back from there, school time never ends till 9 o'clock.
Oh. Why would you
Double
need that?
whammy. I don't know. I don't know where he got it from. I doubt it was his own invention. Education was different in those.
It sounds more like it was a little parlour game that he enjoyed the performance of than an actual useful tool for writing contents.
Well, he delivered it to me as this is how to remember to spell contents.
And did you say I'm good, actually, Dad? I know that some years ago.
No, you're all right.
Did you say, have you got anything to help me spell the word mnemonic? Because that's trickier than contents.
I just tried to pronounce the M in at the because mnemonic, as you all know, is M-N-E-M and O-N-I-C, and the M-N at the beginning. I just had a go out loud of pronouncing the M. And it's almost impossible to pronounce the M at the beginning of mnemonic without following it with do-do-do-do-do.
I find the same when I'm saying Steve McManaman.
Yeah.
Frank, we've had some outside world in, by the way, regarding mnemonics already, quite a few. We've had someone is citing, you were asking for the worst ones, and Dr. Rob Croton says, if it counts, the divorced, beheaded, died Henry VIII sequence. Because 1, it doesn't help you learn who they were. 2, it fails to mention it was married for 24 years, divorced. It wouldn't get you past paragraph 1 of a GCSE exam answer.
No, there's little in the way of timeline. Yeah. And also, it's a casual use of violent terminology that I don't think we want to encourage in the young.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
So, as Twitter twitched?
Yes,
is that what they say?
we've had our readers. Oh, they're good, our readers. They're on it with the mnemonics, Frank. They know. We've had Miss Louisa Kate says, my very energetic mother just served us nice pizza. I believe that's the planets, isn't it?
Oh, Mars, Venus. Oh,
Mars, Venus, Earth, Mother, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus.
Either that or it's just a coincidental lockdown anecdote.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, that would be great if she'd actually said that, but also, without her knowing, it was the planet. Is it the planets in order? Does that sound right?
Possibly.
You want them in order, you don't want them. They're rubbish if they're
Pluto
out of order.
confuses things, doesn't it? Because
it's a dwarf now, isn't it?
Oh, okay.
Technically a dwarf planet.
Been body shamed.
You can say. I think, it's an astronomical term. It's up there with Uranus. It lives in a world of its own.
Yes, that's very acceptable to say. John,
you keep that out of this.
Okay, John Russell has tweeted us some mnemonics, and I have to say, I'm going to leave it to you gentlemen, to work these ones out. I can't fill my pretty little head with these. When will his stupid head remember having had help? And then he's got eclipsing every reasoning, harassing, hazy, egative method. I mean, that's going to take us a while, John, I'm afraid, mate. There's a lot of W's.
Yeah. Do you think he's just an avant-garde poet who is trying to get on my poetry podcast?
Is he having a funny turn? Is he having a bit of one of his turns?
I imagine Samaritans get messages like this every day of the week.
He might have just sat on his phone. We don't know.
Oh, God, that's another thing, yeah. Siri. Is it from Siri? Yeah.
We've also got, I have to say, though, I shouldn't laugh. That's a sort of postcard my father would have sent me and my sister. That's a sort of...
I'd love to know, though. I would love to know what those... Someone on Twitter will ask him what that means. And if he explains, I'd love to know, because they might be absolute life changers.
Well, yeah, exactly. And this one is a bit of a life changer for me, which is from Paul's Quiz. I don't know if he's changed his name by deed poll or it's Paul Sinner or something. I don't know. But it's when Jeff left home, Jack got fat. Any of you boys care to guess what that might be a mnemonic for? So we've got WJLHJGF. We might be here a while and we don't want to tune out. So I'll give you a clue. The first one is Washington.
Oh, American presidents.
Jefferson, Lincoln, Hamilton, Jackson, Grant, Franklin.
That's good.
I mean, I don't think they're in order, though. I'm not quite
sure.
Not. Well, are they, Frank? I don't think.
Well, I've always thought they were completely out of order. That would still be a British colony. I'm with King George on this one. I loved that I went to see Hamilton and the only character I really liked in it was King George. The very opposite of what they're trying to get across. What's the best mnemonic then?
Oh,
because some of them have really been helpful to me. When I made an attempt at learning music, Every Good Boy Deserves Favour, I found
me too.
Absolutely vital.
Well, I'm 45 years old and I still think naughty elephants squirt water to do northeast, southwest.
You do not.
I do. I do.
To remember what order they're in.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant.
It's clockwise, isn't it? Naughty elephants squirt water. I'm doing it now.
I just think East Anglia, and then I know where the east is and the west. You just get there eventually.
Rachel Pillinger, Frank, just so you know, has tweeted us. She's from Birmingham and she says, we had rinse out your gin bottles in Vim at my Birmingham school, which is an alternative to Richard of York gave battle in vain, I presume. A Birmingham alternative for gin bottles and Vim.
Which stands for what?
That's the rainbow colours, isn't it? I believe.
Oh, is
that
it?
Correct?
Okay.
I may be wrong.
What's her name again?
Yeah, violet, indigo, blue. Her name is Rachel Pillinger.
Isn't that what the Vikings were famous for?
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
Hello, this is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. We are not live, so don't text the show, but you can follow us, and many are, at Frank on the Radio on Twitter and Instagram, or you can email us via the Absolute Radio website, of course. So, as I said earlier, we can't actually see each other. We're in our respective homes. I saw Emily last week, the first time for a very long time. But Al, I mean, because you're up in Manchester, it's been... How are you?
Well, exactly.
What are you doing?
If we lived near each other,
what have you been up to?
We could go for what I like to call in WhatsApp SDDW, a socially distanced dog walk, which I've been doing occasionally with my friend Graham.
What you need is a mnemonic for that.
Yeah.
I've also been doing a bit of homeschooling. It's not always great, but it did throw up a curious moment the other day where my son was using the mouse on the computer, and I don't know why, but I compared it to the ones at school, and he said, oh no, the mice at school are different. And we both looked at each other and thought, hang on, is the plural of computer mouses mice?
Yes.
That's a good question.
This is my question.
Yes.
I need to know the answer.
Would you go online and buy 2 computer mice?
What would you ask for in the store? I'd say, hello, I'd like to buy a couple of mice, please. I mean, it sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, it feels really weird, doesn't it?
I'd say I'll have a computer mouse, please. I'll tell you what, make it 2.
Yeah, but it feels
really as a tactic.
It feels really clunky to talk about the school mice or computer mice more than mouses.
Well, I often wondered about this. Say when Donald and Daisy Duck were having a dinner party and Mickey and Minnie, did they say the mice are coming over tonight? Which sounds a bit wrong to me.
Yeah.
Or did they say the mouse? The mouses are coming over. And the other problem, of course, is that Mickey and Minnie aren't married. So would it be right? They just happen to have the same surname.
And only partially clothed, which I don't like at a dinner party myself, but each to their own.
Well, come off it. Yeah,
you prude.
No, but what would you say? The mouses are coming over. Even if it was human beings, if you had two friends that happened coincidentally to have the surname, say they both were called Jackson, you wouldn't say the Jacksons are coming over unless they were married, I don't think, or related.
Good point. Another moment of linguistic confusion that I've been having recently is since lockdown, everyone's been doing these Zoom family quizzes, haven't they? People are getting involved. And I haven't been invited, possibly, because of my temperament and just general demeanour. But I also had a massive misunderstanding where I thought the quiz part and the family part were together. So I thought it was a family quiz, like a quiz about the family that are all on the Zoom chat. So I was thinking the questions were stuff like, what regiment was Uncle Frank in the Boer War? And it turns out it's just a quiz amongst lots of people. So I think I'd stand a better chance in it now, because I didn't realise, but I thought you had to have listened to your family for a lot of years, and I can't make that claim.
I think I think for years, the people who make Who Do You Think You Are have been wondering how they could tour it as a theatre show. And I think you have just cracked it. You do it as a quiz. And you could do it as a local, you could do a regional questions about the history of the region to get wherever you were playing at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all there. We do, as I said before, we do Pointless. Once a fortnight, we have a Zoom Pointless. And we've found now there is a theme, and that is that me and Kath start brilliantly and then crumble towards the end. And the other week we were sailing ahead and I thought, this is it, we've got it. And then at the 11th hour, we got name cast members from the film Mamma Mia. Oh. And we utterly...
I'd have been all over that.
I had a random guess at Robert Bathurst, but it got...
A cold feet.
Yeah, it just felt like he ought to have been. And what was the casting director thinking of? Was my thought when they told me that was a 100 score. Surely, if you don't get Bathurst in Mamma Mia, why even bother make it?
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Any mnemonic news? Oh, I like mnemonic news.
Yes.
That'd be good. So you could remember the news stories.
Yeah.
Might not always want to, but...
No, that's true.
Well, Chris Williams was taught a mnemonic, which was sailors often have curly auburn hair to offer attraction for sine and cosine formula by my dear old maths teacher, Mr. Morris, in the 1970s.
Wow. You see, those are things I don't want to remember. Is there a method of forgetting everything I learnt in maths and science at school? Because occasionally I will have cosine and tangent come to me, and it makes me feel unsettled.
Oh, I don't even know cosine and tangent. This is perhaps why I'm
doing
so badly as a homeschooling teacher.
I have no idea what it means. I sometimes use it as character names in my unpublished novels. Jeff Cosine.
Oh, yeah. Jeff Cosine. Oh, that's a good name, Fang. I love that. Jeff
Cosine was a vampire in my first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've also had we've had some other ones as well. Which is from Chris Holton. And I would put this in a similar category. Do you remember you were saying that your dad, Frank, had a mnemonic for the word content?
Content.
Oh, content. I said content, but you
content.
say potato. Yeah.
No, it's, but content or content, I could see. But when it's at the beginning of a book, no one would call that content.
No, this is true. No. Chris Holton has one which I'd put in a similar category, which is... that it's a mnemonic for the word because, which is big elephants can't always use small exits.
My children use that.
Oh, do they?
For Bacchus.
Okay. Yes.
Well, that's because their dad uses an elephant mnemonic to remember the points of the compass.
Yeah, we're an elephant-obsessed family. I should have told
Is
you
it
that.
because, is there so many elephant mnemonics because they are synonymous with having a good memory?
Exactly.
Oh, yes.
Don't ask that on Twitter. You could break the internet. That'd be like that picture of Thingy's bomb. What's her name? Kim
Kardashian.
Oh, Kim Kardashian, yeah. Thingy's good.
You know, not being able to remember her name makes me as proud as not knowing any of the cast of Mamma Mia.
Thingy is great.
Let's have one more mnemonic. Let's have one more for now.
We've got a few more. We've got Roger has guitar strings. Eat a donut, get big ears.
Oh, I see.
No, that's not the mnemonic. Roger has contacted us.
Oh, okay.
We think everything's a mnemonic now.
Roger has guitar strings.
No.
I really thought that was one.
Roger has contacted us with the mnemonic, eat a donut, get big ears, to remember guitar strings.
Oh.
E-A.
EADGBE. Is that correct?
Oh,
Any guitar players?
Sounds right.
Ears, yeah, that sounds right.
I play ukulele, and what people say when they play the strings is, my dog has fleas, and it is not the initials of the strings. Now, obviously, it's to remember what they're supposed to sound like. But I'm teaching Buzz ukulele at the moment, and he said, why not good cats eat apples? And it's got everything. It helps you to remember the names of the strings, and it works as a little song. So you can have that.
And it reminds you to feed the cat.
Yeah. Not they won't eat apples, I find, generally. Well, would they eat an apple, a cat, if it had nothing else?
They eat anything, those things.
That's fine. That's an experiment if anyone wants to try at home. We'll give it a month. Should we give it a month?
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
So, what's the word on the street, as they used to say?
Well, you started one of your wide appeal text-ins last week by discussing working class ornaments that you had enjoyed and that you don't always see.
Yes, I gave the example of the China mouse praying and begging for mercy in a large brandy glass, with a China cat that used to hook on the top of it by its front paws. It was a real masterpiece, I must say.
Well, we've had many replies with various ones, but one that caught my eye was Roz Jenkovsky, who says Toby Jugs, thimbles, spoons and horse brasses, but nothing beats 40 miniatures stacked in a display cabinet. And I remember all of those things in houses, particularly horse brasses. They were really popular.
See, I think of them in pubs more than in... maybe we weren't grand enough for those.
Yeah, my background is really grand. You're right.
Put yourself down.
Yeah.
I liked Al as well. Emily Jane Smith got in touch, who sounds like a sort of... I love the sound of her. Sounds like she writes detective novels. She says, I loved my Nana's collection of ornamental onyx. Lighter, of course lighter.
Oh, yeah. of
Letter knife,
Yeah.
trinket box, and wait for it, egg.
Oh,
all arranged.
Yes. Oh, the onyx egg.
The onyx egg, all arranged, Frank, next to the telephone on a nest of tables. She was the first in the row to have a phone. So when the neighbours borrowed it, the display of grandeur was theirs to envy.
You see, ours was a Mrs. Morgan across the road. Across our road, there were private houses. They were owned by the people that lived in them. So Mrs. Morgan had a phone. I have to say, I don't know if she cursed us when the door closed, but she was very, very helpful if we needed, because people only went there for emergencies. Mm-hmm. And she never charged or anything like that. She would let people from the council houses go into a private home and use the phone.
That's great.
Yeah. I think we could always hear the kettle boiling as we left, knowing that she was going to pour boiling water over the mouthpiece. Nevertheless.
I love the onyx, though. I'd forgotten those, Frank. People loved a bit of onyx.
Yeah, and also when you say cigarette lighter, I'm reminded of those. You used to get an ashtray on a stand.
Yes.
On
Marky
one a
B.
single leg, and then you used to press down on the top of it, and two little doors would open for the cigarette ends to go in. It was like that bit that Thunderbird 1 comes out of.
It was like, no offence, but it was like a Doctor Who weapon. You know, that's the sort of technology they used, I'm afraid.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's happy about this.
no, it was. Oh God, do people? I don't suppose people have ashtrays anymore. I think the thing to start is an ashtray museum, because they will be they'll be looked back on as absolute strange, weird things from the past. The way we might look on a thing that gets riding boots off. You know those.
Oh, yeah.
Also,
those.
boys, Ian H, with an A, ITCH, says, bullfighting poster with your granddad's name on it as the bullfighter.
I don't remember that.
Oh, you do.
That one escaped
great.
me.
Al, do you remember that?
I don't, but they sound fantastic.
There was
I
a
want
thing
one
of
with my
having
name on it.
newspaper headlines with
Yes.
people's names and their
Yeah,
picture.
it's
I can
similar to that.
In the days when photoshopping was basically the sort of scrapbook technology.
Frank Skinner,
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Far be it that this show should ever be accused of being self-indulgent, but I'd love to hear. If we got any more working class ornaments, I do. It is a joyous thing. A lot of people have to say in Birmingham, and I'm not sure this happened in other parts of the country, in the elephant, say, or the squirt, but they. I was referring back to Al's.
Yeah. I got it.
Come on. Okay. I just in case anyone panicked, a lot of people used to have a seashell
Oh,
on the shelf.
definitely.
And I wondered if it was because it was in Birmingham. The sea was such an exotic, far away place. I mean, it'd be like having moon rock on your shelf now.
No,
And a seashell was such a big deal. And that thing of holding it
Huge
up
deal.
to your ear, that so you could hear the sea.
Oh,
You know that?
yes. I do know.
They were certainly not just a Birmingham thing, because I remember those in houses in Glasgow when I was visiting them as a kid. So it's definitely.
Yes.
We've had a few
And those-
people message and mention whimsies. Anyone for a
Yes.
whimsy? Everyone seemed to have whimsies, whimsicals, basically a unit with tiny animal things on them. I do not know what that is referring to. Do you guys?
Yes, I remember whimsies. I think
I
they were
remember
slightly.
the term. People
were
having tiny animal things, certainly.
They were miniature. It's part of that sort of small ceramic animals, which seem to be a very 70s thing. We've also got Walshy.
Can I say there was a slightly cheaper version of that?
Yeah.
People used to use as ornaments things which were clearly made as children's toys, and that was those animals. Whereas if you pressed underneath the base, they collapsed. Do you remember those things? They were like had elastic threaded through them.
Yeah.
People would have like those, like the giraffe of that, as if it was some sort of beautiful ornament. Absolute rubbish.
Well,
they were
adding to
great.
that-
though. They were great for collapsing,
Adding to
simulating
that,
collapse.
Pat Bostow, Frank, on a similar theme, says, I forgot about dolls in tubes. Dolls in tubes were a big
Oh,
thing
yes.
back then.
Yes. Is
yes.
this from Sir Robert Winston?
Blimey. And we've also got a black velvet wall scroll displaying a colourful, glittery peacock. These we have loved.
Oh, yeah, I bet they collected the bits, didn't they, those? Can you
Oh, yeah.
imagine it?
And
Luckily,
I don't
there
want to
was
end
that-
this.
Oh, go on.
I don't want to end this section without reffing the very wonderful Dame Joan Bakewell, who has contributed Flying Ducks, the classic.
Oh, wow.
Very classic.
Joan, we've email exchanged this very week, but yeah, we never had those. I associate those so much with the Ogdens in Coronation
yes.
Street. I'd almost forgotten that people really had them, but they
Yeah.
They did, didn't they? Oh,
We had the middle class version, which was the flying Maggie Thatcher's ironic ones.
Did you?
Yes, we did, of course.
We'd have the pin cushion, various pin cushion things, but not hidden away in a sewing chest, but on a mantelpiece. Often like a tortoise with some sort of velvet implant back that had got pins in. Rarely like the obvious porcupine or something that you might want to go for.
Yeah.
But, or maybe what would be great is the Japanese, in the Akira Kurosawa movie, Throne of Blood, to go with the Macbeth figure. I would love a pincushion made of that. He dies with all these, are they swords or arrows? I can't remember. Or maybe a Saint Sebastian pincushion.
Are they swords or arrows in the Kurosawa film?
We've now gone to ornaments I'd like to have existed.
And not even Hellraiser.
The felt Saint Sebastian pincushion. Hellraiser would be another one, but I'd feel a need for neatness there that I wouldn't be prepared to commit to. You can't go haphazard on the Hellraiser's pins.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
By the way, we said this at the beginning of the show, but I realise people don't always listen to the whole thing. I know. But we're not live, so don't text in. The stuff that we're reading out live is from Twitter.
Yes.
Of course, if you have texted in, you will have had to have paid, and to me, that's fitting punishment for not listening from the very beginning. But I mean, we're all different, and you may feel that's over strict. What else is going on?
Well, there's a bit of literary news that might have caught your eye.
Always good.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't get anything on Poetry News Update.
I know you two are both published writers, but joining your group and with what I think I can fairly call a mega deal is
We don't want to hear about that.
PE teacher to the nation, Joe Wicks, has apparently, and I'm going to use some tabloid ease here, he's inked $1 million deal.
Has
Inked
he?
$1 million book deal.
What?
It's a lot, isn't it?
£1 million?
It is a lot, but I can
Dr.
tell you,
Evil.
I think I know why he got that big a deal. It's because he's a personal trainer. So every time they offered him a deal, he said, "Give me 20 more."
Oh, that's good.
He just worked his way up to $1 million.
It's a very Alan Cochrane joke. See, I wouldn't have known.
I love it. Yeah.
I didn't know they did that.
No, I
Thanks.
didn't.
Well,
Do you know what he's worth, Joe Wicks, boys, by the way?
To me, he's worth the world.
Well, I
There
found
you
this
go.
out and I was absolutely staggered.
Go on.
14 million.
What?
I'm not
There's a
even
thing-
joking.
There is an internet tradition I've found that if you look up any celebrity, it says net worth is one of the
Yes.
things you get.
Why does it
offered.
say net worth? It's
I mean,
so weird.
Yeah, don't reduce these people. I've got to say, I do the Joe Wicks workout with my partner and our child every weekday morning. It started
Yes.
in lockdown, and we do it a day late, so we can do it an hour earlier, if that makes any sense. So we don't actually do it live. And I think he's a very, very lovable character, Joe Wicks. And I'll tell you what's a very rare thing is good-looking people who do not have the manner of good-looking people.
Yeah.
It's very unusual, that, because very, very handsome or very beautiful people are often psychologically marred forever and not great company. I'm talking about the beautiful now, not the okay. But he's very foolish in the best possible way. There was a great thing. He went into hospital. He had his arm went septic, and he had to miss a day or something like that, and it was quite a big deal. And paparazzi were waiting for him outside. And a lot of people, you'd think you might feel that he's part of the whole sort of reality TV thing, but he's a bit different from that. So when he left, he did this really weird comedy walk all the way to his car and completely ruined. It was just him like fooling around. And I think beautiful people don't normally do things like that.
No, of course
so
they don't.
I have really grown to love him over the last 12 weeks. I'll tell you something, he's made me a much fitter man than I was at the beginning of lockdown. Definitely. So I'm going to call myself I'm a Wicksian. I am a Wicksian. Simple as that.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio. We are on with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane, of course. We are not live, so please don't text the show. But you can follow us at Frank on the Radio on Twitter and Instagram. And you can email us via the Absolute Radio website. We were mid-Wicks, I think. We were talking about Joe. Remind me of this again. Joe Wicks has got a book deal because he's a published author. Because one of the things he does on his morning workouts is he has a spot the difference competition in which he puts different things on his shelves.
Yes.
None of the working class ornaments we've discussed, I might say.
So
but
far.
he does things like he puts his awards out, stuff like that. And he's obviously had fitness videos galore and stuff, but also he's got like a range of kitchenware.
Yeah.
And cookbooks he's got. I noticed, I've been eyeing the podcast charts regularly just lately, and I noticed that he had a podcast about weaning children. Weaning he's doing.
Oh, he called it Wean In instead of Lean In, did he, I believe?
Yes, he did, yes.
I think
Nice
some of his
pun.
books are about 15-second workouts or 15 minutes a day. He seems to quite like the number 15.
Oh, okay.
15 something wean makes sense if it's a
Do you
pun on
think
lean.
he's got that Madonna Kabbalah thing of numerology?
Maybe.
Something like that going on.
And maybe he just got a lucky number thing. That was always my favourite moment on Love Island when someone said in all seriousness, one of the contestants said, "What's your favourite number?" And someone said 11, quite seriously answered this, and she went, "Oh my God, that's my favourite number. I love 11.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's different, isn't it? Whatever happened to lucky numbers, by the way? That's gone, hasn't it? I don't know if people have those anymore.
The idea of having a favourite number, I think that's very strange, isn't it?
Even favourite colour was always pushing it, but that used to be a regular question in like teen magazines and stuff. Favourite colour.
I've got a good one, Frank. Favourite day of the week.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like that.
People would go weekend, I suppose.
Yeah.
Where they go, thank God it's Friday, and then we'd have to defriend them.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Here's a question for you. I'll let you have one guess each on this. How tall is Joe Wicks?
Okay, can I go in first, Al?
Yeah, sure.
Go on.
I'm not as familiar with his oeuvre. I'm going to say 5'9".
Ooh.
Okay.
Well, my
gone
first
short.
thought was 5'10".
I don't know
okay.
men's heights. Go on.
He's a fabulous specimen, but he's 5'8".
Is
Oh,
he?
So this
I'm,
is that quite
I mean,
short
I
for a
thought-
man, is it?
Yeah, I thought he'd maybe just got a very long exercise mat. But it turns out that he is. He's a sort
get
of a
those.
travel personal trainer.
Right.
You could,
Possible.
Yeah, but I was surprised.
Do you
to
know
hear
any
that.
of his other
So he's-
vital
well-
stats? Do you know what kilograms he
No.
weighs and stuff like that?
It's just that Kat
I bet he knows the guns.
Kat's been reading up on him, and
Oh.
she
Clear
just tried
history.
me on this. Yeah, she just said, "How tall do you think he is?" And I thought, because he's an impressive specimen, I thought like 6'1" or something. I was way out. Way out.
And did you call yourself a Wixian, Frank? I like that.
Yeah, I'm definitely
Because
definitely a Wicks.
people who went to Winchester are called Wickhamists, aren't they?
Ah,
I don't think he went to Winchester.
Oh, okay.
he might have been to Winchester.
I seem to remember his wife went to a very good Catholic school, if I remember right. I mean, we've really been studying them at home.
Haven't you just?
Has she? So what's the book? What kind of
it's-
book is it?
Well, interestingly, it's a bleak dystopian thriller.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's the bit that surprised
It's called
us all.
The Wickser Man.
Waiting for Wixo. I'd be
Oh, wow. No, it isn't that, is it?
No.
You're pulling my leg.
I am, yeah.
It's as yet untitled, I believe.
Because he pulls my leg quite often, but he does it remotely, which is fair enough. So we don't know, is it fiction?
I think it's an exercise book.
He's doing some
An
children.
exercise book? What, he's just got to draw the lines in?
That's it. It's a lot of money.
Is he going to do margins or... I don't know what they would have paid him for a maths exercise book when you have to do the squares. Well, that would have been 2 million.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We were discussing Joe Wicks, the body coach, as he's known, as he's writing a book. I say he's written a few books. I mean, the thing is now, I think there's a list of things that people do. Kids' books is one thing that seems to be like everyone. Can I say, this is no reflection? I know I have friends who have written some marvellous kids' books, but it is a thing that people like, personal trainers might get asked to do.
Yeah.
And then people are also, it also seems to be a perfectly standard skill that everyone has, is to make the technical decisions in the assembly of a fragrance, which I always used to think. I thought there were people like who were called noses, there were one in a million type people who could do this, but now it turns like any old character. And the other one, incredibly as well, something I remember many years ago going to the Victoria and Albert Museum to see a Vivienne Westwood exhibition, and it was like a proper art exhibition. It was, and I know nothing of fashion, but it was remarkable. But I think a fashion designer now, that seems to be the other thing, that anyone can get a job doing that. So I suppose this is a sort of a democratisation of skill that we should all celebrate.
Yeah.
Well,
But,
except if people start wanting to be surgeons. I mean, that would concern
Good
me.
point.
That could be next if they've got a good hand.
Imagine if there was a news story saying Frank Skinner is to try his hand at open heart surgery. I would love that.
Joe Wicks, I think. I don't know. The trouble is with Joe, I don't want my surgeon on a stepladder.
No.
That seems to. But so now it's a novel, a cookbooks, kitchenware, fitness DVDs, an iPod on weaning, which I think is also going to become a book on weaning. I mean, I love him, but speaking for myself, I can't get arrested at the moment. This bloke, he's an industry. He's a sort of Renaissance man.
I know.
Oh well, God bless him. As I say, he's done me
He'll
good.
do
He's brought our family together.
And you get 10 years, that's what they say, isn't it? You get 10 years.
10 years.
Well, being white hot, Mercury hot. And then it's all a bit
busyness.
downhill, and then you can come back again. Good luck.
Okay, yeah. Of course, there are many people in British radio who got their 10 years and then got 10 years. So it's a saying which has developed some sort of an echo.
Yeah. By that comparison, you're doing great.
Yeah, exactly. I'm still at
liberty.
large.
I don't know if I can speak for the rest of this link, but we'll give it a go.
Anyway, I look forward to that book. We still haven't really established what it. I really hope it's a dystopian
It's about
novel.
getting the nation healthy. I saw a comment and it said something like Joe Wicks is a popular figure and getting the nation healthy is a big deal and books play a crucial part. And then it said in the small print, the actual book will weigh 30 kilograms. So,
Frank, the thing is they don't quite know what it's about yet. Here's the thing.
Okay.
They've just given him the deal, I'm sure.
Did he say books are a big part of getting people fit?
yeah.
Yes, he did. And I have to take
Counterintuitive, isn't it?
He did say that, Al. He said that was, because he'd also been, there's a strange story saying he'd been nominated for an OBE. It doesn't work like that, Wicks.
Oh, no, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
You can't get nominated by someone. I can't say I want Alan Cochrane to have an OBE. You have to get awarded
I've been
one.
badgering the royal family about this. The trouble is, my main contact is persona non gratis at the moment. That's slowed down the process.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
So, what else is happening in the world? I've lost touch, generally speaking.
Well, we've been talking a lot about language this morning, which I've rather enjoyed. But there was something I came across this week, which was news of the most commonly misspelled word in Britain. Do you know what that is?
Can I pull you up there before you tell us?
UK.
Even, I would normally say misspelt and spell it, and spell it with a T at the end. Would you say misspelled?
Well, you know what? I would defer to you on this because you're quite good on your old school grammar.
I wouldn't. I would have said misspelled.
Okay.
Remember, for the first 25 years of my life, I used to say chimbly for those things that smoke come out of. So I wouldn't. No,
listen.
Defer to me.
Here's how it is: pronunciation, forget about it. As far as you're concerned, but with regards to spelling, grammar, anything like that, I would go with you. So I'll say misspelt words in Britain.
Okay.
And
sounds like bread.
It was.
It sounds like if the bread companies had a beauty contest, there could be a person who was misspelt. If you remember, you used to, in a time when before beauty contests became
PC.
Yeah. Well, no, they didn't become PC.
I like PC,
They
or
were
Jim Davidson.
They were rejected.
PC Brigade.
Them women's libbers, they spoilt it. But you didn't.
Guys, can you hear that?
No, what is it?
Oh, it's my doorbell. It's the visitor from Paula. What
Mine's
am I
all
gonna
right.
do?
My doorbell went last week.
Yeah, but only I
you
can
go and
answer
it. Me and Al kept
Okay,
talking.
I'll leave you to it. Excuse me.
Okay.
Thank you.
So if you had to have a guess who it was, Al, what would you say?
I think it's probably a fresh fruit and vegetables box. What do you reckon?
Oh, I think it's dry cleaning.
Oh.
I think one night a week, Emily wears an elaborate ball gown around the house, just for psychological reasons.
Well,
and I think I heard the rustle of very, very thin polythene, which can only say dry cleaning and car service. Oh, hello. Who
I'm
was
back,
it?
by the way.
Now.
Well, do you know what was odd? There was I'm not lying, there was a single red carnation outside my front path after the doorbell rung.
That is lovely.
That's all there was out there.
No, and then
No
I realised...
person.
Then I realised it had just fallen off a bush and it was a man with a package for me. Thank you.
I thought you were going to say someone had been hit by a car and actually hurled over into your garden. And you saw the buttonhole that fell out. When you looked to your left, there they were as a sort of broken figure on your lawn.
Lovely.
I'm glad it didn't turn out. So what are the most misspelt words?
Well, have you already covered separate is the most misspelt? The word separate.
Oh.
Yeah,
Presumably
I saw that.
because people put an E instead of an A. Is that right?
Yes.
I see.
But they said
Yes.
it was from Google searches. They said it was like 92,000 Google searches of the word separate. Is it separate or separate? I just thought this is great news for the UK divorce lawyers. That was my main thought.
Or it might be the Joe Wicks generation, who are just drinking half a dozen egg yolks every morning. That is another possibility, of course. Or there's a lot of dogs having physical relations in people's gardens, and they're looking up the best way to deal with it.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I find it interesting that the Red Tops are running articles about the most misspelt words and stuff. It doesn't seem so long ago, does it? Maybe it's before your time, but I remember when the teaching profession regarded spelling as a bit of a bourgeois construct. And the idea was that children should be allowed to express themselves, and we shouldn't, teachers would say this sort of stuff. It's not about rules and regulations and about, discipline. It's about expression and the school's on fire. Can I just say the school's on fire? It was like that. And you used to see, I remember going to a school, I forget for some reason, there was a play or something on, and on the wall there was kids' essays that were just completely misspelled, and we asked someone about it, and the teacher said, "Oh no, we don't worry about that. It's all about just speaking from the heart." But it seems that has changed.
Oh no, I think it's still that in schools, but I think the tabloids probably want the spellings to be better, which is weird given the state of their websites often.
Yes.
Well, it's odd, isn't it? We've sort of gone back to the sort of early 20th century when I would say most communication now is written.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you?
Good point, yes.
And that is a time when you sort of think that people don't do much writing, but it's nearly all. Do they actually? I genuinely don't know this. You know how you would get I've got, I don't know, the collected letters of Samuel Johnson and stuff like that. Do you get
relatable material?
No, but I mean, could you? That was just a par example.
Yeah.
But I mean, could you go and buy a book of sort of online? Could you get like the selected Snapchats of Alexa Chung in hardback? Do you know? Could you get the collected emails of can you buy that?
Didn't Kim Kardashian do a book which was based on her Instagram posts? I appreciate that's visual rather than written, but still, it is essentially just a collection of your social media activity.
Presumably, and people who say interesting things and write interesting things to their friends now by email that would have done it by letter, it's just as legitimate to publish a collection of those as it would be letters. But I can't think of ever seeing. I've never seen the collected emails of
Joe Wicks.
Who's the well-known Stephen Fry.
Yes.
I mean, surely the collected emails of Stephen Fry would be a popular seller.
Yes. Well, I suppose they. It's interesting though because they did say, Frank. We should say actually other words that people on this commonly misspelt list. Misspelt. I do. By the way, I do love misspelt. That reminded me of when they used to do National Prune Week, and there'd be someone from Coronation Street posing in hot pants.
Yeah.
Next to some prunes.
Or dressed as a prune on a really, if they'd really thrown money at it.
Yeah. But the other words were questionnaire, as also, I mean, I hope this is okay to mention this word. It is a gross word. I do apologise, but I can't help it. It's diarrhea.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That is a tough one to spell, though.
A tough one to have.
You can see why it often gets abbreviated.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
I know I shouldn't, but you know what it's like when I was telling my son recently, because he got a scab on his arm, and I said, oh God, a good scab like that would keep me going 3 or 4 days on the picking front. They don't do it now, the children. But not that I've seen. I wouldn't mind going back just for one last hurrah to the working class ornaments. Stuff that we've had from
the
our readers.
WCO.
It's one of my favourite ever.
Yeah. Well,
we might even carry this over another week. Go on.
Another week? The whole show's going to be themed around it. Matthew Rigby has mackerel ashtray. Anyone familiar with that? A lot of ashtrays here.
I've seen that.
We've got Pablo.
Oh.
Pablo has suggested, he's talking about China ornaments. His favourites were urchin on bench. See also homeless man with dog.
Oh, yes. Yes, I'd forgotten those. Yeah, the homeless actually were quite a popular Capi de Monte theme.
Different
Quite
times, weren't they?
romantically
It was
portrayed.
different times, yeah.
They were
The odd thing is that they arrived in a cardboard box, of course.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it is different times, but it was meant affectionately. I think it was
Yes.
quite a romantic thing then. The what was then called the tramp, of course.
It's sort of
Should
the
we move on? What
traveller.
else?
Sir
Yeah.
Arthur Putey says cottage teapots. Anyone remember those?
Yes.
Are you familiar with
yes,
those?
definitely. I remember people that had old collections of teapots of various things, but the cottage was tremendously popular. People used to have those tiny sort of towns, like sort of small houses that they'd have all gathered together. Do you remember those?
Yes, I do remember that. It was. There were also. Sorry, I'm just reading something here. Joe Clark. Do you remember these guys? Those lamps with the hanging beads for a shade that old women used to win at the bingo. Anyone familiar with those?
Yes, they were very. I think of them very much as fortune teller lamps.
All right.
They had that kind of Madame Rosa kind of thing. The thing that working class, speaking of the working class in the past, working class women in those days very often would go and see a local clairvoyant.
Oh, yeah.
Is that right?
I mean, just like a woman. I don't mean like a woman who in a booth. I mean, just Mavis from number 37, who had the whatever it was they have, the third eye or something.
The power.
Yeah, and they would go and. I never remember any men doing it, but yeah, middle-aged working-class women would go and find out their futures, which, I mean, I could have told them at the time. It was going to be drudgery and very little affection. But I wouldn't have charged them for it. But, they wanted something a bit more exotic. It was like a gathering of the women of the tribe to talk about the future. I wonder if that still goes on.
We've also got just a couple more I'd like to share with you. Guinness 2 cans and a Johnny Walker jug, a Bell's whiskey bell, getting an insight into your house, Mary Roberts, and baby sham glasses in my late mother-in-law's cabinet.
Yeah. I don't think I ever saw a whiskey bottle with whiskey, and it only ever had small change.
Yes,
in people's
I remember
houses.
those.
And also in the times in pubs when people would push over a tower of pennies and catch it in a blanket. They'd have like a local newscaster would come. Anyway, look, we can't go. We could just talk like this all day. What's going on? Thank God. Congratulations, everyone, for not using the word spangles. Thank you so much for listening to us today. You know what? If the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back again this time next week. Now, be alert.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.